Welcome to Octopi Realty, the YouTube channel where we're sharing continual stats on the US real estate market and how things continue to evolve. Thank you so much for viewing our first video. I'm very excited to share this with you. And today, focusing on, is the American dream still alive? As an immigrant into this country, the American dream always seems like a big pull. That dream of you can work hard, buy your land, buy your home, and continue to build on that and build generational wealth. And really, is that an option in today's world? So previously we shared a stat, which is the average home buyer wants to spend $307,000 on their next home. So what does that look like? To me, that felt very low, but that's someone who's predominantly lived in major cities in the United States. So does this make sense? Is this something that's actually achievable? According to Property Radar, there's 91.5 million single-family homes in the United States. Of those 91.5 million homes, 9.1 million of them, so 10%, have a value between 270K and 330K, and 45.5 million, so that's 50%, have a value below 330K. So if you look at it from a top level, if the average person wants to spend 307K on their next home, there is more than enough inventory there with a good chunk of the market within 10% of that price, a full 10% of the market, and then 50% of the market being below that. So on a national level, that would very much show that it's achievable. But is it? So if you look at the down payment, and I think down payments are something which are becoming harder and harder to come by, the required down payment for a 307K home is going to be 61.4K. That's quite a bit of money to have. To then make up the other 80% based on a mortgage rate of 6.5%, you're going to be looking at needing to earn 80K. The good news is that the average household income is actually 74K. So yes, there's a little bit of a stretch. We know interest rates are high, even higher than 6.5% at the moment. This is recorded mid-May. So but we're there or thereabouts, which is really good news. And actually, if we look at things from a municipality perspective, and Zillow makes all of this data available, as of the end of April, 72% of the 869 municipalities that Zillow tracks in the United States have an average home value of under 330K. So that's a huge proportion of the country that you could buy in. However, just because there are homes available for the price of the average household income doesn't mean that necessarily that means things are achievable, because people have to be able to work. So how does this translate at a state level? So we've taken the top 4 states here: California, Texas, Florida, and New York. This is the first time that I've ever seen the Florida and New York flags, so this is news to me. And I learned something new here as well with the state flags. If we look at things here, it paints a much more desperate picture. Based on the average household income and the average house prices, actually 3 of the top 4 states are not affordable for the majority of people. So California has an average home price of $806,000 at the moment, while the average household income is only 96K. Based on a household income of 96K, you can actually only get a mortgage of 342K. So unless you've got a $500,000 deposit, you're really going to struggle. Texas is the good news, and I think this is probably one of the reasons we're seeing Texas continue to explode from a population standpoint. So many people continuing to move down there. Not only is it income tax free, there's also this ability that with an average household income of 73K, you can afford an average home at 308K. Florida is not as far away as obviously California is. 417K house price with a 68K average household income. You can only get a mortgage of 240K, but you're a bit closer. New York, again, further away, $443,000 for the average household. The average house price, the average household income is 77K. The average mortgage that you could get, all of these are again based on 6.5%, would be 271K. What does this actually mean, though, and how does this translate into how people should be looking at real estate? So really the first thing to do is look at where you're looking to invest and understand what the market is like. If you're in California, you should really only be doing everything to rent. predominantly, unless you know that you can afford really high net worth potential. If you look at this, the majority of people in California cannot afford a home. And so therefore they're going to be in renting, and they're going to be renting for much longer. So make sure you're looking more at rent values than potentially sale values, and how do those align with the mortgage, because that's really going to be how you need to approach buying in California. It's very much going to be buy to rent or build to rent if you're a developer. Texas, you have more of an opportunity. You have the opportunity to do rentals, buy to sell. House flipping is going to be a much more viable option in Texas as well, because of that ability for people to actually afford homes. Yes, there's always places, and home values are dictated by who wants to buy them. You have to remember there's a volume play to this as well. You're better off in a place where the majority of people are going to be able to afford than the very, very few. If you're only targeting the top 5% of the population, that's a much slimmer margin for you to be working with than if you're in that middle gap where there's 20 to 30% of the population who's able to afford what you're doing, whether that's renting or buying from you. So really, I think it's, does the US have a housing crisis? If you look at the very top national level, no, the US is still a very affordable place to live, and the American dream is still very much alive. If we look at where the concentrations of population are, which therefore normally means the concentration of jobs, there's a much broader issue at play, particularly in California, but I think that's no surprise to anybody. So let me know your thoughts on this. Please subscribe, please comment, please like. If you have a state that you'd like me to run this analysis in, just stick it in the comments and I can do that. Thank you so much for watching our first video, and we'll be sharing more of this data as we run through, continue to focus on the financial side of things, but also how do things vary from a space. What do people want in their homes? What are people looking for? And what makes homes more attractive to buyers and renters?